So we're seeing the aftermath of Bakugo getting stabbed with those forcible quirk activation spike things, for the previous chapter, the big moment that, broke the internet more or less. And yeah, he's still able to talk after that. He's like, you can't be the only one doing hero stuff, or, whatever the translation is. And I'm going to still stick by my guns from the previous review. I don't think Bakugo is going to die. He could, of course, but I think he's going to stick it out until the end. Not just because I want him to, because I have a theory about time travel, just like a few other creators do. It's just because I just don't think it's time for him to die, unless this is the end of the series, which is also a possibility that this is the final arc. It hasn't been confirmed nor denied yet, but I always have to keep reminding you guys of that. We see Todoroki grab him, so I assume that he's going to tend to him at this point, and then, I don't know, nurse him back to health somewhat. Or maybe they can cauterize his wounds with the heat stuff, maybe Endeavor, or Todoroki does it or something like that. But then Shigaraki adds insult to injury, and he's like, there was a ton of useless blood spilled today, and that was the most useless of all. So if Izuku wasn't already going to get a rage boost, this is adding fuel to that fire, because like I said in the previous review, this is definitely going to do something to Izuku. It's going to evoke an emotional response from him, and that's certainly what it does here. And we get this nice little exposition narration panel where it's like, if you act out of rage, your power will react accordingly. And the most important thing is to keep your head clear. That's not what he's doing here, because he becomes insane. This is the most unhinged I think we've ever seen Izuku, easily. I've never seen his eyes go like this. And I think this might be playing into what they were talking about 2 chapters back, about how inherently One For All is kind of a dark power somewhat, because it came from All For One, because he inadvertently created it. So therefore, I guess it's evil by proxy, even though that's not necessarily true. That's how you use it. But also, going back to that narrative, you can also use One For All in a non-altruistic manner, and you could become just crazy from it. He looks like Bakugo from the medal ceremony. Remember, he had the Venom-esque eyes. That's what he has here. He's biting through the forcible quirk activation spikes. So also, another aesthetic that it looks similar to is the I keep my ideals, that whole meme with All Might going crazy in the intro. Kind of looks like that. I'm not going to put too much canonicity on that, because that is just the intro to the anime. It makes you think, what if All Might was rage boosted and was using One For All? He would probably look something like this, and from the I keep my ideals meme. Even this is shocking. Shigaraki, who's looking at him whoa, this dude's unhinged. But then we see All For One through his wound opening, which is, pretty cool art from Horikoshi here. Almost looks like some kind of Junji Ito type panel. But then we're coming back to Jaku City, or more so Saru City, Osaka Prefecture, going into Jaku City. And we're seeing that there's that other side of the team, Uraraka, Tsuyu, Ida, and all of them, Nejiri. They are going to be encountering Gigantomachia at some point, because we see from the instructions here, they're our priority is now rescuing civilians as well as halting the enemy's advance. So what could be happening at this point is that we might fray away from Shigaraki versus Izuku again. How we did it a couple chapters back, we had the whole big battle, and then we went to what was going on with Yao Yorozu, Kirishima and them, and then we had that span of chapters. They might do that again here, and we might see this team try to halt Gigantomachia, although that would be a little repetitive. And honestly, I don't think there's much that they can do that the other team didn't really do. Yeah, they didn't have Yao Yorozu and all those hacks and stuff like that. But I'm trying to say they probably won't be any more effective, considering that Gigantomachia is, I guess, at the peak of his power right now. He has done that transformation where he's has that going on. So I'm assuming that maybe they're just going to skip over that. He's just going to bulldoze right through them and eventually go to ground zero pretty much. And I think by that point, I'm still going to stick to what I originally think, is that that's where the tipping point of the arc is pretty much going to happen, or the final tipping point, I guess, and that it will finally land in the favor of the villains, because, man, it's not looking good for the heroes at this point. But regardless of what happens, I do think Gigantomachia will make it there successfully because, like I said, he has all those storylines on his back right now. You know, Dabi, the rest of the League of the Villains, and all that stuff. And also, he's like, oh, there's two masters I smell because, you know, how, like, All For One is invading Shigaraki's body and mind at this point. But let's get into that. Because after Shigaraki, like, touches Izuku like this, you know, make sure that he's not decaying his face, I suppose. He's trying to take All For One from him. But this sends them into the Vestige world, or what we probably thought was the Vestige world. I don't know, the Singularity Force world. I don't know, but they're in it together now. This is the first time we've ever seen more than just either Shigaraki and All For One or Izuku and the rest of the Vestiges. This is all connected, and it makes sense because the two powers are connected, you know, One For All For One, like we were just talking about. So it makes sense that this Singularity world is interconnected. But seeing Izuku in this world again, he has more form to him. Like the last time I think he might have been here, besides when he got the instructions from Daigoro with the Black Whips, was chapter 193 when he saw the flashback between All For One and his brother and all that. He only really had like the top of his face and like one hand, at least from what I saw, and now he has like some torso and he has both hands and some of his arms. So I guess that means he's further along in his progression, because last time All For One's brother was like, you're only at 20%, you know, don't worry, we're already past Singularity and all that stuff. So I guess it's showing that, and then also All For One taking over Shigaraki's body to some extent. Now, I made a video about this theory where I think his ultimate goal was to take over Shigaraki, and some people disagree with that, and it's fine. I mean, it just seems more likely now than ever, right? Because they're having like this back and forth. He's like, you know, hey, you know, just let, you know, what, if I didn't lend you my power, you would have died. You know, I'm just helping you. I'm just helping you. It's like, get away from me. I told you this was my dream. Shut up. You know, this is my own path. This isn't what you wanted. It's what I want. I'm not a puppet. And then we see that Izuku still can't move in this world. He's not powerful enough. I guess he hasn't come far enough as to what, you know, All For One's brother was talking about. Then Nana shows up. Nana is also in the Vestige world, which makes sense. I'm sure all of the Vestiges are here to some extent. Their Force ghosts exist here. And then she says, you know, you still can't move in this world, but we'll do something about that. So what's going to happen after this point? Maybe Nana can talk to Shigaraki or something, or All For One, or maybe they can all talk. But she's obviously going to give Izuku some, I don't want to say Deus Ex because this has been established for a long time now. But just give him a nice little shonen boost here, I suppose, to help him out. And like I said, we might also fray away from this and go back to Gigantomachia taking on Uraraka's side of things, possibly. But we've come so far at this point, I don't think they're going to do that. But let me know what you think about this chapter in the comments. If you like the video, guys, please give it a like and please subscribe. Please subscribe. I'm trying to reach that milestone by the end of the year. I also have a Twitch, have a Patreon. I got a lot of things. Please check them out, and have a great day. See you in the next one.